Hey everybody, my name is Russell Brunson. I want to welcome you to our Funnelology course. Today I'm going to be talking about the new art and science of funnel building. And we're going to be going over a lot of the core concepts about how to build a funnel, how to build an offer, how to have value ladders, ascension funnels, and then all the different types of funnels throughout the value ladder. What are the lead funnels? What are the unboxing funnels? What are the presentation funnels? What are the high ticket funnels? And it's going to be a lot of fun. Now my guess is that during this training, there's different people listening to this, and for some of you guys, some of these concepts are going to be review. Some of you guys, everything I say is going to be brand new, and you're going to be freaking out the first time around. I want to recommend that if you are someone who's advanced and you're looking at this, pay attention because there's a lot of new things I'm going to be introducing. There'll be similar frameworks you're familiar with, but there's going to be new stuff weaved in through every single presentation as well. And I think that everyone's going to get a ton of value, whether you've been doing this for a decade or a decade and a half like me, or if you're a brand new beginner who's trying to figure out how in the world can I grow my business online with sales funnels. For both of you guys, this course is called Funnelology is going to help you. I call it the new art and science of funnel building because the first time I ever taught this, I spent the first 10 years of my career online doing funnel building. I launched tons of different companies. We had weight loss companies, we had diabetic neuropathy companies, we had speed reading companies, we had baby sign language, potato gun DVDs, we had all sorts of products and services where I was building funnels and doing this. And about 5 or 6 years ago, I decided to start teaching people about this. And I wrote my very first book ever called .com Secrets, which was the first real introduction to sales funnels and how people can use funnels to grow companies. And about the same time we launched the book, we launched our software company, ClickFunnels, and hand in hand, that became the guidebook to help people actually use funnels inside their business. And for the last 5 years, it's been really fun watching people grow huge companies off of that foundation. Now, what's been fun is right now my third book is coming out really, really soon. And I had a really short window to have a chance to actually rewrite the .com Secrets book. And it's funny, the first edition was 58,000 words. I deleted 30,000 words, and then the book ended up being, I think, 94,000 words. So it's a lot bigger. So even though some of the concepts in the book and some of the concepts you may have heard before, there's a lot of new stuff weaved into it that I think you guys are going to love and you're going to get obsessed about. If you geek out like me on funnels, you're going to love everything we're going to talk about today. So that's what this new presentation is really based on, a lot of the core methodologies they're taught in the new .com Secrets book. And it should give you guys a really good foundation to prepare yourself for whatever business you're in, okay? So what I recommend is while you're going through this training course is sit back, take out a pad of paper, take out some notes, and as you're learning the concepts, I want you to take notes on it, but at the same time, start thinking about it in the lens of your business. Like, how would this work in my business? How would this piece work? And start thinking about those things because you start visualizing and seeing how this would fit in your business. The more you visualize it, the more it becomes real to you and the more likely you are to actually use that as a tool. I don't know about you, but I my entire career, I struggled in school. I think a lot of times it was because I was sitting there, I listened to the teacher talking and telling me stories, and I'd be trying to pay attention, I'd take notes, but I'm like, I have no context of how this is valuable in my life. And so because of that, we go right in one ear and right out the other one just as fast, right? And so for me, education got exciting when I had something to actually apply it to. As soon as I had a business and I learned something, I'm like, that's interesting. And I tried it and it worked. All of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, I want to learn everything I can. And I started reading books and buying courses and going to seminars and events and everything I could do to dump in ideas into this side of my brain so I could test them over here. And the ones that worked and the ones that stuck, we started using over and over and over again. And through that process, I was able to build companies that have done hundreds of millions of dollars in sales. And so my goal for you is that I don't want this stuff just to bounce off, go in one ear and out the other one. I want it to be meaningful to you. I want you to be able to use it. So as I'm telling you about, think about how could I apply that to the business that I have or the idea I have, or maybe I'm a consultant for somebody else's business. How would I apply these things to help grow their company? And if you do that, these things will mean a lot more to you and remember them better, and hopefully they'll serve you at a much higher level. Okay? So I'm going to jump right in. And again, there's going to be a lot of foundational stuff today. Be going over the secret formula and value ladders today. And then tomorrow we're going to go deeper into each of the different phases of the value ladder. What are the funnels at the bottom of the funnel of the value ladder? What are the funnels in the second tier and the third tier and the fourth tier of the value ladder? And I'm going to be going very, very deep into detail of what the funnels are, what they look like, what does page 1 look like, and page 2 and page 3. So we'll get to that tomorrow, but today I really want you guys to understand the foundational stuff. Because if you don't have these foundations, it's really hard to build a funnel. When you do have them, building funnels is the easiest part of the entire equation. So this first session, I call this the secret formula, okay? And the secret formula is a really simple process that when I wrote the .com Secrets book initially, it kind of mapped out this entire funnel building process in like a couple really, really quick images, okay? And so if you look at how it works, the first part of the secret formula is who. Who is the person you actually want to serve? I'm going to dive deeper into this. But who is the person you want to serve? That's number one, okay? The second question is, where are those people? Okay, if I know I want to serve this type of person, where are they already congregating? So here's a lake, and there's some fish. Okay, so that's the second thing. It's like, where are my people? Okay, then the third part of the value ladder is, now that I know who they are, I know where they are, what is the bait that I'm going to use? There's a fishing pole to go and capture these fish. What's the bait I'm going to use? Okay. And then the last step here is, after I've caught this person, I've caught this bait, I brought him in, then where am I taking him? This is the little mountain here. Where is the summit that I'm trying to take them to? What's the result I'm trying to get for my dream customer? Okay. And one of the big updates that we made to the .com Secrets book, as you'll see when you guys have a chance to read it in the near future, is that this step we kind of identify, like, what is actually bait. And so if you look at what bait is inside of bait, it's kind of a 3-step process we can go through today as well. It's hook, and then story, and then offer. And this kind of encompasses what your bait is. Your bait is your hook, your story, and your offer, okay? So that's kind of what the secret formula is. It's a very simple process, but it really encompasses all of business. Who do I want to serve? Where are those people at? What can I use to get them? And then after I get them, how can I actually serve them? Okay, and that's what the secret formula looks like. So if you look here on my slides, this is kind of a doodle of that. So who, where, bait, and result. Now, I want to go a little bit deeper into each of these aspects, because I'm sure most of you guys just heard that. You're like, okay, cool, I got it. It's like, no, like, each of these things, they could and should do an entire like college semester on each of these different aspects, because they're so vitally important to what you're doing. Okay, so the first one I go to is who. Who is your dream customer? Who is that person that you want to serve? Okay, now I always tell people this, that if you're not careful, what most entrepreneurs do is they get excited about a product, they create a product, they start selling it, and they never think about who it is they actually want to serve. They're just thinking about this idea they have in this product and want to launch it. Okay, and I got started my entrepreneur journey. That's exactly what I did. I got excited about a product, I created it, I built it, I started selling it, and I didn't think once about who I wanted to sell it to. I just started selling it, and some people started buying it, I got excited, more people bought it, and one day, like 3 years down the road, I woke up, and I remember laying in bed, sitting there, and I was so miserable. I was making really good money. I had all the things you would think were like what gives you a perfect lifestyle. And I'm laying there and I was like, I wish that I had a boss so that he would fire me and I wouldn't have to go in the office today. And I started sitting there thinking, like, why do I feel this way? And I realized the reason why is because I created some really good products that attracted the wrong the wrong people into my world. And I wasn't obsessed with my customer. I didn't like him. I didn't want to see him. I always thought about this, that if I was to go on a cruise or go hang out with somebody, or go to an event surrounded by my dream customers, would I be like, hey guys, let's go hang out? Or would I be like, oh man, I gotta go hide. And I realized, like, I wanted to hide. I didn't love the people I was serving. And because of that, I was miserable. And it wasn't until I hit rock bottom, my business was collapsing and failing, I was miserable, that I sat back, and I remember I had a friend, Eben Pagan, some of you guys know Eben. He had a training out there talking about your dream customer avatar. And I remember hearing that, and I was like, I never thought about it. I create a product and I sell it. That's what entrepreneurs do. And he was like, no. You got to figure out who is it you actually want to serve. Who is your dream customer avatar? That's where you start. And he said, and he gave the suggestion. He said, go to Google Images and actually find images of the people who your dream avatar could be. And I thought, at first I remember thinking that was like the cheesiest thing in the world. But I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. So I went to Google Images and I said, okay, who's my dream customer? What do they look like? And I went and I first started, I wanted to find 2 avatars. I wanted to find a male avatar and a female avatar. So I went there and I went to Google Images. I typed in the name. So I said, okay, I'm going to name my avatar. I'm going to call her Julie. And I said, okay, now what do I know about Julie? Well, Julie, if she's my dream customer, she's successful, she's driven. So she has a message she wants to share with the world. She values her own personal growth over money. She already has her business to 6 figures a year. She just wants to grow it to the next level. I typed those things in, and all of a sudden all these faces popped into Google Images. I'm scrolling through, and eventually I found this face right here. Now, I don't know who she actually is, but this is my Julie. This is Julie who popped out of Google Images for me. I was like, oh my gosh, she looks like someone I want to hang out with. I was going to an event, I'd be like, hey Julie, what's up? We should hang out and be friends. So I took a picture of this off Google Images, and I put it in a frame, and I had it on my wall. I said, this is Julie. This is my dream customer that I want to serve. Okay, and that was my first person. The next person I said is, well, who's my male counterpart? Like, who would I want to serve on the male side? I remember I said, okay, I'm going to call this guy Mike. So I called him Mike, typed in Google, I typed in a bunch of things. I typed in former athlete, has changed someone's life in a small way and wants to share it with more. He values growth over money. He already has God's business 5 figures a year, but wants to grow it to 6 and 7 and beyond. Typed all that stuff into Google Images, and boom, this picture popped out of Mike. And I was like, Mike looks awesome. I would totally go hang out with this guy. We'd have so much fun. We'd talk about marketing and business and sports. And I would love to hang out with Mike. So I took his picture, I printed it out, put it on my wall, and I had my Mike and my Julie. Now, I tell you this story because I was kind of almost doing it initially as a joke. So I'm like, this is not like something that's actually going to work, right? But I did it, put them on my wall, and I started thinking about it. When I was trying to create different products, I look at them, and I'm like, is this something that Mike and Julie would want? Is this something that my dream customer would actually want? Okay, if I said this in an ad, would that get them to like come towards me, or would that repel them, make them push away from me? I started thinking about these things, and it shifted my mindset on so many things, from how we created products to the different ads we made and all sorts of things like that. Now, kind of a funny backstory. Some of you guys know I've ran an Inner Circle mastermind program for the last 6 or 7 years. And this year I actually put it on pause for a little while. My kids are going to be starting high school next year and a bunch of other things. And I just wanted, and not so much wanted, but I needed and wanted. I needed both. But I needed to block out time because I want to spend more time with my kids. And so something had to go. And I had this amazing mastermind program that's making me tons of money. And I went to all my people and I paused it. And I said, hey, I'm going to pause it for a couple of years just so I can get, my kids through high school and all those kind of things. And it was a sad, emotional thing. This is actually my inner circle room where I meet with my inner circle members a couple times a year. And it was really sad. And I remember as I was sitting out there and I was talking to them the last meeting, and I looked out and they're all there. And I told them about this story. I said, you know what's crazy? I said, 5 or 6 years ago, I built out this customer avatar. And I started, I went through and I pulled up Julie. I started talking about like who Julie was. And I said, who here in this room is a Julie? And literally all the women's hands raised up. They're like, that's me. And then sitting right there was Julie Stoyan. And Julie's like, I've had so many people who read the Dot-Com Secrets book and asked if this Julie was me. Because it's like fits her to a T. And I was like, I said, because I put that out 5 years ago, all the decisions and choices I made led to a room full of Julies. And then I talked about the Mike, and I explained the Mike person. I said, who here is a Mike? And all the men raised their hand. I was like, isn't it fascinating? This little tweak that I made 5 or 6 years ago just to define who do I want to serve, and then figuring out the products and services that they would want, as opposed to me being like, this would make me money, this would be a good thing I could sell. I shifted it to focus on them first, and because of that little choice, that little hinge, swung this huge door that now 5 or 6 years later I had a mastermind with over 100 people in it, paying $50,000 a year to be part of it, and they're all filled with my dream customers. Okay, people I would want to hang out with anyway. And so that's the power. So that's the very first step is who. Becoming super clear on who it is you want to serve. Okay, if you're listening to me right now and you're like, I hate my customers, it's probably because you did what I did. Okay, it's okay to change, especially now at the beginning of a year. Now is the best time in the world to change. In fact, I made this decision. It was right after New Year's, and there was a video that Tony Robbins and his wife Sage put out. They were in Fiji, and I remember that they're sitting there talking, and Tony Robbins said, he said, we can change anytime we want all year long. A lot of people during New Year's, they give themselves permission to actually change. And he says, I challenge you that if you're in a relationship you don't like, you should change it. He said, if you're in a business you don't like, you should change it. If you're in a whatever, and you name 4 or 5, if you're in a body you're not happy with, you should change it. And I remember sitting there, and this is when I made this decision of like, I'm going to change my customers because Tony gave me permission. So I want to give you guys permission. Just because you've gone a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down a business does not mean you can't shift it. You can't change it. I did. And on the other side of that, so much more happiness and fulfillment, it'll be worth it to you. Okay, so that's number one, is who is your dream customer? Okay, second question, I was like, where are these people actually congregating? Okay, it becomes really easy when you realize like exactly who this person is. And okay, this is what the person is, what they do, what they like. And the better you get to know who this person is, the better you're gonna be at figuring out where are they actually congregating, okay? Like where do they spend their time? I made a list last night of just some things to start thinking about where, okay? What are the top websites your dream customers already go to every single day? Okay, what forums or message boards they participate in? What are the Facebook groups they participate in? Who are the influencers they follow on Facebook and on Instagram? What podcasts they listen to? What are the email newsletters they're subscribed to? What blogs do they read? What channels they follow on YouTube? What keywords are they searching for in Google to find information? Okay, this is where your dream customers are congregating, where they're at. Okay, so your job as a marketer is to figure out, I got to find out where these people are. Okay, it's funny, I just wrote this book, Traffic Secrets, and whenever I talk to people about traffic, they think it's this magic mystery of like, okay, well, how do I do it? Like, what are the keywords? What are the things? And they're always like worried about all the algorithms. I'm like, look, traffic is really simple when you think about it. It's just figuring out who your dream customer is and figuring out where they're congregating. Okay, one of my favorite stories, I'm sure most of you guys have heard me tell the story before, but when I was in high school and college, I was a wrestler. I wrestled in Utah growing up. I was a state champ there. I wrestled a year at Brigham Young University, and they cut their wrestling program, so I came to Boise State, and I had my last 4 years here at Boise State. And I remember as much as I love my people, my wrestlers, we're not always the smartest group in any bunch. And because most of us were struggling to make grades, they made it mandatory for every single wrestler, you had to go to study hall every single night. So every single night, practice would get done, we'd all go home, we'd eat, and then we'd drive over to study hall, and all the wrestlers would be in study hall because we were all struggling in school. And so we're sitting there doing homework, and I remember every single day doing this, and I remember it's probably 2 or 3 months into my sophomore year, and I'm sitting there, and I'm trying to do my homework, and then I'm like thinking about wrestling, thinking about my match coming up, and thinking about other things. And there was a website that me and all of the wrestlers always congregated at, and it was themat.com. Mat has kind of shrunk in the last few years, and for my wrestlers, there's bigger ones out there that are better, but themat.com was the place when I was in college. And so I remember I'd go to mat.com, and I get sucked into like the message boards and like talking about this wrestler versus this wrestler and thing after thing, and like that was my place. Those were my people, right? We hung out, we had a good time, and that's where we spent all of our time is all congregating here in this one spot. Okay, and I remember kind of a funny story one day as I was in there, and I had to go to the bathroom. I stood up, I started walking out, and I was looking over. I started looking at the other wrestlers, and I noticed that like our 133 pounder was on the mat.com, our heavyweight was on the mat.com, our 197 pounder. I was looking, I'm like, oh my gosh, all of the wrestlers in Boise in study hall are literally in this one spot right now talking about wrestling. I was thinking, I'm sure it's not just Boise State. I bet you every single college campus in the country, the wrestlers are in study hall right now, and we're all on the exact same website. And it's not just happening in college, it's happening in high school, it's happening for people that have already graduated, it's happening in other countries. Like the entire world, everyone who cares about wrestling is all congregating in this one spot. So my question for you is, if you're selling a wrestling product, where do you go to throw your bait in? Right? You just find out where are the wrestlers congregating, and you throw out your bait right there. I remember when I was in the mat.com, I would see there'd be ads on the side for the Granby System Wrestling thing, and Ken Chiarotow's wrestling camps, and the Sue Plays Dummies. Like all the ads were all in there all the time, right? They're all people throwing their hooks in, trying to grab people out of this pond. Okay, so same thing's true for you. As soon as you get a clear picture of who this person is, then you figure out where they're congregating. Okay, and if you don't know where this is at, it means you got to start getting deeper into your dream customer. Okay, you got to start figuring out what podcasts they listen to. Okay, if you're not listening to the same podcast they are, you're going to struggle to speak to them because you're not going to know the language they're already listening to. You're not going to hear what other people are saying to them. Okay, so you got to find out what are the podcasts my dream customers listen to and you should be listening. What are the Facebook groups that are on? You need to get inside those groups and be part of them and participate. Okay, you got to become part of these communities, and that's going to help you understand how to come in here and throw your bait in. Okay, all right. So that takes us now to number 3. So who's your dream customer? Where are they congregating? Now, what is the bait? The bait we're going to throw in. Now we found this congregation. We got to throw something in here to try to capture them, try to grab them, right? And so in the past, I always said just throw out bait. But in the new version of the .com Secrets book, I talk about how bait is actually this concept called hook, story, offer, right? We have this thing, we throw our bait in and we have a hook, okay? So if you think about it, they're in this forum, they're in this community. And visualize this. Right, here's this person. This is your dream customer. They're hanging out in this community, and they're on their. This is a phone. They're on their phone, and they're seeing all these. All day they're sitting there scrolling. They're reading things. They're commenting. They're seeing stuff. And you're coming here, and you're throwing this hook in to try to grab their attention just for a second. Okay. So the first part of the process, you grab the hook to grab them. We're gonna go deeper in this. You grab their hook. Okay. And if you do it right, you get attention just for a second. Then you have this little window of opportunity now that you've got their attention. You have this window where you have a chance to tell them a story. And the goal of the story is to build a relationship and connection with you, okay? And then to increase the perceived value of whatever it is you're about to sell to them. Okay, so let me say it again. So the hook grabs their attention just long enough you can tell them a story. The story builds a connection with you and the person, okay? And then gives you the ability to increase the perceived value of the thing you're gonna offer them, and then you make them an offer. Okay, so it's hook. You got hook, story, offer. This is the framework. I'm gonna go deeper into this here in a second. We hook them, tell them a story, and we make them an offer. Okay? And that's how you get somebody from this community to be able to get their attention so you can actually start serving them. Okay? Now, it's interesting. I'm gonna show you guys this right here. So this was the first bait, the first thing that we put out there that was specifically to grab my dream customer. Okay, this was my hook to grab Mike and a Julie. Now, prior to this, just so you guys know, before I had this 108 split test book, most of the things I was selling, like how to get rich quick on the internet, how to make money on eBay, how to make money doing that, like there are all these things that were like, they were attracting the wrong kind of person. It wasn't attracting entrepreneurs, it attracted them who wanted to get rich quick, right? Which those are the customers I didn't like, that I didn't want to spend time with. Okay, so I wrote this book, 108 split test winners. And it was interesting. I took my existing customer list and I promoted it. I'm like, hey, I wrote this new book, 108 split test winners. And of my, I don't know, 150, 200,000 subscribers ahead of time, the amount of people that bought this was maybe a dozen. Okay? So this bait I put out there, what did it do? I put this bait out here, and the wrong customers came and looked at it and said, 108 split test, what does that even mean? Okay? And it repelled them. They're like, that sounds like a lot of work. So that it repelled them and it went away. Okay? But the right people, my dream customers said, 108 split tests, like, oh my gosh, if they're an entrepreneur, like, these are Russell split tests, simple tweaks you can make to your funnel, like that bait attracted my dream customer. The Mikes and the Julies of the communities that we were putting this offer out, they heard it and they're like, oh my gosh, like that's the thing I need, that's what I need to do. And they raised their hand, they came and they bought it. Okay, what happened that was interesting is that my huge list of all these business opportunity seekers who wanted to get rich quick on the internet, they stopped responding to my offers. Okay, and eventually they all kind of faded away and they disappeared. And all of a sudden this new breed of entrepreneurs, the people that wanted to work hard, that believed in growth, that wanted to figure out the next level, those people saw this hook and it attracted them. They said, that's amazing. They came, they bought the hook. Okay, they saw me make an offer, tell them a story. Like, let me tell you a story about this book. I told them the story of the book. Like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I must buy it. I need this thing. Made them an offer, go buy the book, and boom, it happened. Hook, story, offer. I started grabbing my dream customers out of this place right here and started coming into my world. And that literally is what shifted my whole future. Everything since then shifted because of that. Because I knew exactly who my customers were. I knew where they were at, and I created the bait that would attract the dream customers and repel the people I didn't want to work with. Does that make sense? Okay, so bait's the next thing here. Okay, so the question for you to start asking yourself is like, what's the bait you can create to attract your dream customer? Okay? And the sexier the bait, the more likely is someone's gonna come to you, okay? If I go back one, it says change your bait, change your customer. Okay, if you don't like customers coming in, change your bait. Change your bait, keep changing until it's like, oh, these are my people. These are the people I wanna actually spend time with, okay? Change your bait, change your customer. Okay, so start thinking through what's the bait you could create. Okay, that you can go grab your dream people. Okay, now I want to go deeper here. I want to take this step in the framework here with bait. I want to zoom into this part right here. I want to go deeper on hook, story, offer, because this is one of the core frameworks that I talk about not only in the .com Secrets book, but in the New Expert Secrets and the Traffic Secrets book. We go deep into this because it really is the core fundamental framework of almost everything we're doing here in funnels, is understanding that. So I'm going to go a little deeper here. So we're going to go into it deep, okay? So number one, we'll go through hook, the story, and the offer. Okay, I kind of told you this before. The goal of the hook is to grab their attention. The story is to build a relationship with you and then increase the perceived value of the thing you're about to offer them. And then the offer is actually the offer. Now, what's interesting is if you're struggling to make money online, if something isn't working in one of your funnels, it's always either the hook, the story, or the offer. Okay, at last year's Funnel Hacking Live, I talked about this on stage. I told people over and over, I said, if you were to hire me and pay me $100,000 for a one-day consult, and you came in front of me, you said, nothing's working, and my funnel's not working, what's wrong? I would look at it, I would say, I'd look at your ads, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, I'd say, okay, let me look at your ads. It's either your hook, your story, your offer, so let's figure out which one it is. And then I go to your landing page, okay, it's either your hook, your story, your offer, let's figure out which one it is. And we go to the next page, it's either your hook, your story, your offer. And that would be it. And you'd be like, Russell, like I thought you were this amazing consultant. I'm like, yeah, I only got 3 things I look at. Your hook, your story, your offer. Like this is the core fundamental principle of all of marketing, okay? So if you miss this, you're missing everything. So that's why it's so important. I keep drilling in people's heads over and over and over again. I want to re-drill it into your head. That's why I go so deep into it in all 3 of the books because it really is the piece that if you can master this, it gets really easy. In fact, Stacy Martino, I'm going to talk about Stacy and Paul here in a little bit. Some of my favorite students here, they've been in my inner circle for the last couple of years, and they're amazing. But after Stacy heard me say that at Funnel Hacking Live, she said she went back home, and they were kind of stuck on one part of the business. And she said, okay, well, I heard Russell say that if I was hired for consulting, it'd be my hook, my story, my offer. Let me go figure things out. So she looked at her pages and tweaked her hooks, tweaked her stories, tweaked her offers, and went through that entire funnel and watched their company dramatically increase just by applying this one thing. So that's why this is so vitally important for you guys to understand. Hook, story, offer, okay? All right, so even though we go hook, story, offer, I'm gonna start explaining the offer part first, then we're gonna move to story, and then we'll end with hooks, okay? So I'm gonna kind of go backwards on this because that's just the best way to teach it, okay? All right, so we're gonna start with the offer. So the offer, this is really, understanding how to create a really good offer is what makes a funnel work, okay? A lot of people know about products. I'm gonna create a product, I'm gonna create this really cool, thing you can click on to advanced slides. This is the product, right? An offer is different. What is an offer? An offer is bundling together a whole bunch of things to do a couple things. Number one is increase the perceived value of it. Okay, number two is make it unique, so it's not a commodity, so something specific to you. It's something that's different, that's your own, and it's just one of the most powerful things you can do. Okay, so you probably, if you've been following me for any amount of time, you notice I make a lot of offers. My offers usually look like this. I always have an offer slide attached which says, okay, when you buy this thing from me, you're gonna get the clicker, but you're also gonna get this, and this, and this, and this, and the total value of this entire offer is blank, and I'm gonna discount it to this. Okay, that's what an offer slide is. Okay, so the offer is the core fundamental part of every single funnel. Okay, and again, there's an offer on why should someone click on your ad? Well, if you click on my ad, I'm gonna give you this. I'm gonna give you a free PDF, I'm gonna give you a video. There's an offer on your landing page, like if you give me your email address, I'm gonna give you this thing. Okay, there's an offer on your sales page. If you give me money, I'm gonna give you this thing. Like they're all offers. Okay, so I want to put in perspective how valuable and how important an offer is. Okay, this is Claude Hopkins. He is known by many of people in the industry as the father of modern advertising. And he lived in the early 1900s, and his title, he was what they called a scheme man. Okay, and I think this should become like a cool thing. We should call our funnel builders all scheme men. But it's kind of a negative connotation nowadays. But in the early 1900s, they called them scheme men. And the scheme men were responsible for coming up with the most important piece of the advertising puzzle, and that was figuring out the offer. Okay, so scheme men were the offer. Now, I want you to put this in perspective. In 1907, when Claude Hopkins was doing this, they were paying him $52,000 a year. You may be like, oh, that's pretty good money. 52 grand a year is not too bad to sit there and make up offers. But in 1907, if you did the calculations on what that actually is worth today, that is $1.396 million in today's dollars. So he's paid almost $1.4 million a year to figure out offers for companies. That's it. That was his role. Let me figure out the offer you're going to sell. Okay, that's how valuable a piece this is, and most of us don't even think about it. We're like, oh, I'm going to sell a course. Oh, I'm going to sell a coaching pro. I'm a life coach. I'm going to sell that. Oh, I found these things on Alibaba, I'm gonna sell that. We just sell the product. You're missing it, the product's not the thing. Okay, if you wanna compete against people selling products, you create offers. Okay, the offer will increase the perceived value of whatever it is you're selling, and it makes you unique, okay? There's a difference between a product and a commodity. Okay, excuse me, a product and offer. A product is a commodity, right? If I find something on Alibaba, and I go and I sell it, okay, there's 10 or 1,000 or 100,000 other people selling that thing, okay? It's a commodity. So when you have something that's a commodity, the problem is the only way to win with a commodity is you got to become the cheapest person, right? So somebody is selling iPhones for $500 on the website, and I'm selling an iPhone. We both have an iPhone. The only way for me to beat them is to sell for a little bit less. So he sells $500, I'll sell mine for $400. Okay, and then the next person comes along like, well, the only way to beat that is to go cheap, so I'm gonna go for $300, and then $200. And the only way to win when you're a commodity is price. Okay, which price is like the stupidest thing to compete on. It's the worst. Okay, my very first mentor, Dan Kennedy, told me, he said, if you can't be the lowest price leader in town, there's no strategic advantage of being the second lowest price leader. Because if you can't be Walmart and be the cheapest, you might as well be the most expensive. Because there is a strategic advantage of being the most expensive. Okay, so for a lot of us, we're like, okay, I gotta be cheaper than the last person, I gotta be cheaper, and we're trying to figure out ways to make ourselves cheaper. Okay, instead of doing that, there's another way to make yourself feel cheaper, okay? You come back here, there's two ways. Number one is to decrease the price. That's one way to make you have the cheapest product in town. But the other way is to increase the value. Okay, when you increase the value, it makes you feel like the cheapest, right? So if I'm selling a phone, I'm like, hey, if you buy a phone, if it's a product, here's my phone, $500. This guy sells it at $400, $300, $200. That's one way to become the cheapest product. The second way is, here's the phone at $500. If you buy it from me, this phone is going to cost $2,000, but you get 3 private one-on-one consults with me through your phone. Oh my gosh, that seems cheap, because usually you charge $5,000 an hour for consulting. That seems really, really cheap now, but I'm selling it for 4 times as much as this phone. Yeah, but it seems cheap now because, why? Because the perceived value is increased because I turned it into an actual offer. Does that make sense? So that's when you have to start understanding, like, because the worst business to be in is one where you're trying to compete on price. The best business is one where you're increasing the value of the offer and it becomes better and better and more sexy, okay? So that's what I'm trying to do, is figure out how to create an offer that increases the perceived value of the thing that we're trying to sell. Okay, and this is one of the core secrets of funnel building, is understanding offer, understanding that we've got to increase the value of this offer, because that is the key, okay? So the offer increases the value. So I'm gonna give you guys a couple examples of this in the real world, so hopefully it'll make more sense, okay? So for example, I've been now married for almost 18 years, so I haven't dated in I date my wife, but it's hard for me to remember exactly how it works, but we watch cheesy shows like The Bachelor and Bachelorette. I see my friends dating, my kids are like 3 or 4 years away from dating, and it makes me really, really nervous. But as I was thinking about this, I started thinking about, how did I get my wife to want to marry me? How did I get her to want to go on a date with me back in the day? Okay, I want to put this in perspective. My wife is 5.5 years older than me. She's way better looking than me. Like, she has all the things, and I'm like this little dorky kid, okay? When I moved to Boise, Idaho, I was, to put it in perspective, I moved to this little apartment with a whole bunch of other wrestlers. I had a shaved head. I had glasses on. I had no future. I just wanted to wrestle. I was kind of weird. I was socially didn't dare talk to girls. Like, it was like all these things, right? And all my other roommates were there, and a couple of them all had a crush on this girl, and she was the older girl, and one of the other apartments was close to us, and so we'd go over to her house and hang out, right? And so I looked at it, and I was watching these guys, and they'd come over, and they'd try to be like, how cool they were. Hey, do you want to go on a date? Hey, do you want to go on a date? And I watched her. She turned tons of, like, bunch of them, like, no, I'm not going to go on a date. No, I'm not going to go on a date. No, I'm not going to go on a date. I'm like, man, she keeps telling these people no. Like, the offer's not very good, right? Everyone's offer's like, want to go on a date with me? And when you do that, all they have to look is at yourself. Like, do I want to go on a date with you? Like yes or no, right? And some people are like stunning good looking, so your offer increases because the value of your looks, but I wasn't that way, right? I was a shaved head wrestler with glasses on, and so like that was my thing. My value wasn't huge on looks, and so I was coming there, I'm like, how do I increase the value of this package? I'm like, okay, what do I got? So when I asked her on a date, it wasn't just like, hey, do you want to go on a date with me? She's like, other guys are way better looking than you. I was like, okay, I got to make this an offer. Okay, so I was like, okay, if you want to date with me, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna go on this, and we're gonna experience this, and we're gonna eat here and do this, and then afterwards we're gonna go do this thing right here, and we're gonna meet these people here, and like I created an experience, right? And then I asked her on a date, and she's like, oh my gosh, that offer, that experience, that whole thing sounds amazing. And you're in there, and that sounds great too. Like, let's go and do this thing, right? I created an offer, asked her on a date, she said yes, and now we're married 5 kids later, and it's amazing. Okay, so if you're struggling in dating, this is my only dating advice I will ever give anybody, is how do you increase your offer? Okay, if it's just you may be in trouble, especially if you're not very good looking, right? So I gotta figure out, how do I increase the offer of this? Okay, what else do I have to offer my future spouse, this person I want to date, right? So there's my dating advice, okay? But you see how it works? I mean, increasing the value of yourself as the offer. Okay. As I was teaching, we did an event earlier this year called the Unlock the Secrets event for our 2 Common Club coaching members. And it was kind of a fun event, and I decided to invite all of the kids to come to it as well. So the parents came and the kids came as well. And so I'm explaining this concept of increasing an offer to the audience. I think all the parents were just like, wait a minute, I got a question. Wait a minute. And like the parents are always a little bit slower than the kids. Kids pick up stuff really fast. And I was sitting out in the audience, I was looking out, and I started asking the kids. I could tell the parents were a little perplexed. I said, okay, I want to get some kids out. So I called on some kids, and this right here on the left hand, this image, this is Ryan Lee, he's one of my Inner Circle members. On the right hand here is his daughter, Kiana. And Kiana, I don't know how, she's probably 10, maybe 12 years old, and she runs a babysitting business. And so I said, I asked all the kids, like, for all the kids, how would you increase the offer of your, whatever business is you're working on? And she's raises her hand, so I throw her the little catch box, and she grabs it. She says, well, I'm a babysitter, and I figure all my friends are also babysitting. We're all charging $5 an hour. What if I increase my offer by doing this? And she's like, what if I told them that after I'm gonna feed your kids healthy food, not like pizza. And then after the thing's done, I'm gonna actually wash the dishes. And I'm gonna make sure the kids are in bed at 9 o'clock. And I'm gonna play games with the kids when we go out. And then I'm gonna do, and she named about 4 or 5 different things that she could do. And I looked at her, I was like, oh my gosh, like, do you wanna watch my kids? Like, my kids were at the event. I'm like, can you watch them tonight? Like, that offer was amazing. And you look at, like, there's 10 babysitters, and all of them are like, I'll babysit your kid, I'll babysit your kid, I'll babysit your kid, I'll babysit your kid. And when I do that, I'm also gonna do this and this and this and this. And like, who are you gonna give your money to? Okay, she could double, triple, quadruple her prices, and she still seems the cheapest because not only did she watch my kids and make sure they didn't die, she also cleaned up the house, fed them healthy food, had activities with them, played with them, wasn't texting on her phone all night long, all those kind of things as well. Okay, she's CPA certified, all those things like she created an offer where she could double, triple, quadruple her price, and she still would have seemed the cheapest. Okay, and she had a line of people out the door waiting for them to babysit because she created an actual offer instead of just selling a product. Okay, do you guys get how this works? So you're sitting there in your marketplace, you're like, I've got this course, I've got this physical product, I've got this training program, this coaching program, this event, like whatever the thing is that you're trying to do, you gotta step back and figure out, okay, I'm competing with all these other people, how do I make my offer better? What do I have that can be better than what everybody else is doing? I gotta one up everybody else, I gotta make my offer better, okay, so that the perceived value of it seems so much higher. That way it seems cheaper. And that way I don't have to lower my price. In fact, I can increase my price and it won't even matter. Okay? It's called price elasticity. So if you look at any offer I create, we spend so much time. Like what we literally do is I'll come out like, this is an example, this is the One Funnel Way offer. When we create this offer, it was literally me and my team in front of a whiteboard. I'm like, hey, let's make an amazing offer. Like, what should we give people? And we had a big whiteboard and it said like potential products on the top. We started listing, well, what if we gave them this? What if we gave them this? Oh, remember that training you did over here? We can give them that. And like, oh, what if we give them this worksheet here? And what if we had them fly to your house and you could like just build their funnel for them? What if we did this? And what if we gave them ClickFunnels again? Like, we just mapped out as many different things as possible. So we had a whole whiteboard of all the potential things that we possibly could do when we sold one funnel away, right? But we didn't give them everything, but like we brainstormed like that, and I got all these amazing ideas out, and then we came back to our stack slide, and we said, okay, what should we actually give them? We said, okay, well, the first thing we're gonna give them, we're gonna give them 30 days of video missions from Russell. What's the value of that? And 30 days of coaching from Steven and from Julie. And then we're gonna one from way customized 30-day kit. Okay, and then we're gonna send them a physical book in the mail, and then a physical MP3 player, then this hardcover book, and then access to interviews, and we start building out this thing, and all of a sudden this is insane offer. Okay, that most other my competitors would sell for at least $1,000 or more. And they're like, let's sell it for this, right? Okay, and that's how we create an amazing offer. Okay, and we do this every single time. If you ever notice anything you buy from me, there's always gonna be a stack slide like this. There never will not be a stack slide like this. Okay, the first time I do an offer without a stack slide, you guys should just fire me because it means I failed at my job. I'm a horrible scheme man. I'm not worth the $1.3 million a year that I charge to be a scheme man. Okay, like this is the key. You gotta figure out what is the offer, okay? And if something's not selling, again, I told you it's always either the hook, the story, or the offer. So if someone's not working, look at it like, maybe my offer sucks. Maybe nobody wants this. What else could we include instead? What if I got rid of this and plugged this in instead? What if I got rid of this and plugged this in instead? What if I did this and this? And all of a sudden, like, it opens up your mind to like, oh, my offer just sucked. I get the right offer, people are gonna go crazy for it because it seems so cheap, right? Okay, so that's the game. That's the game with creating an offer. So what your guys' job is to sit down with your team, with yourself, with your spouse, with your kids, whatever it is, and say, okay, what potential products can I do here? Okay, when Kiana was doing it for a babysitting product, she's like, okay, well, I could wash the dishes, I could clean the bathroom, I could cook healthy food, I could play games with the kids, and she started making all these things, and that gave her the power of the things to be able to create. Okay, we were at the kid event, at the Unlock the Secrets event, I brought these kids on stage too, and we said, okay, you're a lawn mowing company. Okay, everyone out there is mowing lawns. What could you do to increase the value? And these kids were like, what if we went and we scrubbed their windows? What if we did this? And like these kids off top there like pulling these ideas out and building insane offers. I said, man, everyone else is charging $30 to mow a lawn. I'd pay you $500 to mow a lawn because you're also doing boom, 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 right? You increase the value of the offer. Okay, and we gave them all these things. We did lawn mowing. We did, what if you did this kind of business and this kind? We started giving them, throwing out these random businesses, and I watched these kids start getting really good at increasing the value of the offer. Okay, so for you gotta become a master of that too, just like these kids. What else could you offer? What else could you offer? What else could you offer? Keep building this potential product up, okay? And that's where you're gonna have this palette of offers. Now this is important. As we get to funnel building tomorrow, you need to have tons of potential products. Okay, because if you're doing a cart funnel, you need a product on your first page. You need products for your upsells, your downsells, your order form bumps. So this is something you're continually adding, continually figuring out. We have a whole drive full of like trainings and products and software and worksheets and lists. Like everything we ever created in the past all goes somewhere that could become a potential product in the future. Okay, right now I'm filming this funnelology course. This will be a course we sell on its own, but it'll probably be a bonus somewhere else. It'll probably be somewhere like, okay, I'm always building up my inventory of potential products. And then when I have an idea, okay, I create the product, I look through here, what things can I bundle with it to make it amazing, and boom, now I've got a sexy offer. Okay, so for you guys, like this should be a thing that you're doing, not just once, but like every week, sit down with your team, sit down with yourself and figure out what else could I offer, what else could I offer. Okay, because until you get the right offer, it gets really hard to get people to give you money. You get the right offer, it's really easy, okay? All right, so that's your homework, is go down, list out your potential products, and then from that, figure out which things am I willing to go and do, okay? Because again, like when the One Funnel Away Challenge, like one of the ideas was like, fly to Russell's house and have him build your funnel. Like, okay, that sounds amazing, but for $100, I'm not gonna do that. So I don't have to put it on the offer slide. I just put things on the offer slide that I'm willing to do. Okay, I figure out what are my non-negotiables? I'm not gonna do this, not gonna do this, not gonna do this, but here are the things I am willing to do. I figure those things out, I put in my offer slide, and boom, now I've got a sexy offer. Now I've got something to go and test, okay? All right, so there's offer. Now this is important to understand is that you're gonna be using offers again on every single page of your funnel, okay? So look at this right here. There's gonna be offers on your ads, okay? I'm making it, like every time someone clicks on my ad, I'm making an offer. Click on this ad, I'm gonna show you a free video. Click on this ad, I'm gonna give you a template. I'm gonna give you a checklist. Click on this ad to go, you're right? So every single ad, there's an offer. They go to my landing page, like give me your email address, I'm gonna give you this, there's an offer there, okay? Give me money, I'm gonna give you this, there's an offer there. Buy my upsell, I'm gonna give you this, there's an offer there. Okay, so it's important to start building out this inventory because you're using these offers over and over and over and over again in different places. Okay? Some people wonder why I'm able to get products up and launched and live so fast. It's because I've been building for the last decade and a half an inventory of products that I can go and start plugging into things. Okay, it's your time to start building those things up. Okay, every time you record something, every time you put a microphone on, every time you interview somebody, those are potential products you could be selling. Okay, so start capturing and start cataloging and start having them ready for yourself so that when you're ready to create your own offers, you've got these things you can start plugging into places. Okay? All right, so there is the offer section. Okay, so come back here. We got hook, we got story, we got offer. Okay, so the offers are the key. So now I'm going to go back one step because the offer increases the value, but the next thing that increases the value, if you tell a story about the offer, that also increases the value of it. Okay, so we're going to start now with stories. Okay, now here's why stories are essential. If I'm working with somebody, my dream client, and I want to really serve them, okay, I found my dream client, okay, for someone to change their destiny, they have to make a decision. Okay, if I want to get this person over here so I can change their life, they've got to make a decision. Okay, for them to make a decision, they have to change their state. Most people are in a state where they're not happy, they're miserable, and for me to grab them, hook them, and get them to go find their wallet and give me money excitedly to go on a journey with me to change their life, like I've got to change their state. Okay, and the best way to get them to make a decision, change their state, and the best way to change their state is by telling them a story. Okay, so I hook them. I tell them a story. The story changes their state. The state helps them make a decision, and the decision changes their destiny. See how those things all fall together? So if I don't tell them a story, if I just throw it like, hey, you should buy my iPhone. Do I want an iPhone? No, I'm out. Boom. Okay? But if I hook them, okay, and then boom, I change their state. I tell them a story to change their state, to get them so they can make a decision so they can change their destiny. Okay? So an offer without a state change is useless. That's what you got to understand. An offer without a state change is useless. Okay, so the big secret is you have to become really good at story selling. Now, a lot of you guys have seen me map this out before. This is kind of the big premise of the Expert Secrets book, but it's so important. It's understanding this concept that we call the Epiphany Bridge. Okay, now a lot of you guys have heard me talk about this before, but I want to map it out for the new people, but also hopefully some of you guys will get a different aha or epiphany as you're listening to it. Okay, so if you think about this, I want you to go back in time to when you were a normal human. Do you guys remember that? Before you were excited about whatever it is you're doing now. Before I was excited about funnels, before I was excited about wrestling, before I was excited about whatever the thing is that you sell. Okay, back when you're just a normal human and you're just wandering around the universe, like doing whatever you do before you bumped into something, right? So remember that, this is you at the very beginning, okay? Then something happened to you, right? Some experience happened. I want you to start thinking about what was the experience? For me, what was the experience that got me excited about funnels? Excuse me. Okay, if I'm selling wrestling, what was the experience that got me excited about wrestling? Like something happened. Okay, some experience happened, and it changed you, right? And when it changed you, you went on this journey. Okay, I call this the Epiphany Bridge because this is like you had this epiphany of like, oh my gosh, I need a funnel. Oh my gosh, like I'm a wrestler. Like I want to be a wrestler. Oh my gosh, I want to be a drummer. Like what was the story? What was the experience happened that gave you this epiphany? Okay, well, you remember that, and then realize that after you had that epiphany and you were sold, like I want to do, like you had this emotional thing that sold you emotionally, like this is amazing. You went on this journey, and then you started like geeking out on it, right? That's for me. I was like, I learned about funnels, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, right? To me, it's for my epiphany story, right? Like, I'm not gonna go deep into it, but selling my potato gun. I sold my potato gun through a funnel, and it had success. And I was like, oh, the angels were singing, like, I could use this in any business. And I went and launched like 400 new companies in the next like 2 days, all using funnels because the potato gun funnel made money, right? That was my big epiphany. And so I started geeking out, going on this journey over here. And on the other side of this journey is where we geek out. Let me put glasses. Let's give this guy a little hair. There you go. So you geek out and you come on this side of the journey, and all of a sudden here, you become very logical. You're like, this is amazing. Do you realize that the reason why funnels are so important because if I increase the average cart value and I get my CPA down to my blah, 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 then I can make a ton of money, right? We start geeking out logically and you start understanding, oh, if you do this and you do this, and like you get all the techno, but we call this technobabble, right? Technobabble. And you become this like genius at your thing. Okay, and the problem with this is that for most of us, and you become so good at this thing that you're just like, I am a genius, I can go convert the whole world. And you run out and you go find these unexpected little humans who are walking around, and you're like, guess what? They're like, what? And you're like, let me tell you about funnels. And you start spewing out all this information you have about CPAs and average cart values and upsells and downsells and order form bumps and everything, and they're just like, I don't know, and they have no idea what's happening. They freak out and they run away, right? I see this in every single industry. I see this in network marketing is probably the worst, right? You get sold on something, you come over here, you get all the research, you go to the convention, you go to the event, you learn all the science behind why your thing's so exciting, and then you go, you find your prospects, and you pounce on them, and you spew out all your technobabble, and you scare the crap out of them. Okay, it happens over and over and over again. I see trainers do this. Okay, they got big old muscles, and they find some guy who's like, oh, I want muscles like yours, and they start talking to you about lactic acid and about carbs and protein versus in your macros, and you're just like, I just want biceps. Like what, right? And that's the problem is we think we're so smart that we spew all this technobabble on. Okay, we have to understand if you want to become good at selling, you cannot sell through technobabble. Okay, this is logic. You were not logically convinced to go on this journey. I know, I guarantee you, if you go back in time and start thinking, okay, sometimes it's hard for sure, like, what was the thing back here? What was the emotional experience I had that took me on this journey? We have to remember that is, okay? Because we spent so much time geeking out that we think this is all it is, and this is what we try to sell people with, and it kills our sales every single time. If you want to sell anything, the secret is to come back on this journey, back to where you were at when you were a normal human, and remember that, because that's where the person that you're about to meet is at. Okay, when they click on your ad, they show up, this is where they're at. They have not committed this journey. They're not going to geek out with you right now. Okay, but they're here right now and you're coming in. They just clicked on your ad. Your job, your goal, okay, you already hooked them. You got this little window to tell them a story. You need to tell them a story about why you care about this stuff. Why were you emotionally sold? Why should they care? You tell your story, and if you do it in the right way, and again, this is outside the context of this training. This is the Expert Secrets book. If you tell them the right way, they will have the same epiphany that you just had, and they'll go on their own journey. They'll study it. They'll geek out. They'll figure out all the math and the science and the technology behind it. But that's not what sells them. What sells them is this emotional experience. It's you telling them your story that breaks their false beliefs, that gets them to want to come on this journey. That's the big aha. That's the big secret. Okay, so you got to remember this. What was your story? So when you have that window where you hook somebody, and you tell them the story, if you start spewing your technobabble, you will lose them. Okay, you tell them your story about how this thing changed your life. You give them the epiphany. Then they'll make the state change they'll need. They'll make the decision they need to make. All things will happen. And you'll be able to actually serve them. Okay, that's the big secret. Okay, so I come back to my slides here. Here's the epiphany bridge, right? There's our person ahead of time. They have the aha. They go on the epiphany bridge. They logically geek out. Cross out technobabble. Okay? So that's what you understand. This is the key. Okay? All right. I feel like I should ask for any questions, but there's a live audience, but I'm sitting here. So, any questions? If so, you should ask your neighbor. Just kidding. So that's the epiphany bridge. This is like one of the biggest realizations I've had over the last 5 or 6 years, and I've seen as people have taken this principle, it's the key that makes your ads work and makes sure your videos work, your podcasts work. Like everything is like understanding it's this story. It's you remembering these stories, getting better and better at telling stories that'll increase your conversion, right? I said if a funnel isn't working, it's always your hook, your story, your offer. Okay, we talked about offer earlier, but if it's not your offer, if the offer's like this offer is insane, well, your story's wrong. You're not positioning it, you're not making them like if you tell the story the right way, it increases the value of the offer you're about to make them, right? So if they're not buying the offer, it mean your story wasn't right. You got to tell the story differently. Figure out the story. Cut out the technobabble. Cut out the confusing words. Cut out all the things that are keeping them from success, and figure out how do I tell the story in a way that gets them excited so they have the same epiphany that I just had. Because if you can do that, they're going to come on the journey themselves. They sell themselves. Okay. All right. So I want to go through this. This is the next piece of this is to understand is your customers. In fact, I'm going to draw this as we go through this. So your customers all right now, when they come to you, they've got, if they understood everything correctly right now, they would already bought with you, right? So the reason why they haven't came to you yet is they've got these different false beliefs, okay? And these could be from like our society, it could be from trial and error, it could be from a million different things, right? But all of them have these false beliefs, okay? So I call these the chains of false belief. So here's the person, and they got these chains of false beliefs that are holding back, okay? So that's the first thing to understand is that there are these chains of false belief. Okay, so if you want to think about like what were the false beliefs you had before you went on your journey? Okay, like for me with funnels, like I thought the best way to make money was on selling stuff on eBay or on Craigslist, or I thought I had to have a degree to make money, or I thought you had to have a business license, like I thought you had to have like I had always been false beliefs of why I couldn't be successful when I got started. It's hard for me to remember now because like I just think everybody can be successful, but there was a time back then where I had these chains of false belief that held me back. Okay, and the reality is most people who are going to be clicking on my ads have those same false beliefs right now. So that's number one, right? Then you got to think about why do they have this false belief? Well, something happened to them in their life, right? Something happened Look at me, a black guy, 'cause he got beat up, right? There's some experience that happened that gave them this false belief, right? And they remember this. It's like inside their head, like this is the experience that happened that gave me this false belief. Okay, here's a frowny face one. There's this experience, right? So number one is the chains, false belief. Number two is the experience that they had. So when you start thinking for yourself, like, why did you believe that thing? What was the reason why you believed it? Well, I believed it was hard to make money because my parents, and this isn't true for me, but my parents struggle with money. And so because they said it was hard to make money, I believe it was hard to make money, right? Or whatever it might be. There's some experience that happened that keeps them, they gave them this false belief, right? So because of this experience, they have a story in their mind. We're like, well, this is, here's a story. Okay, they have the story like, well, this is the story because, like, I can't be successful here because of whatever story, right? So and I'm going to show you guys an example of this here in a second, so it'll make more sense as we kind of go through here. So they've got this story about why this thing is this false belief. And so your job then is to come through and figure out how to tell them a better story. Does that make sense? If not, that's okay, because I'm about to show it to you. So let me give you guys an example of this, okay? So I'm gonna tease my network marketing friends. I love them. I've been involved in multiple network marketing companies. I own ownership in a couple of them as well. So I love network marketers, but I'm still gonna tease you a little bit because it's just kind of fun. So here we go. So pretend like this is me. This is Devon at Funnel Hacking Live. Devon comes up to me and he's like, "Hey Russell, I want you to join my company." I'm like, "Sweet dude, I'm in. This sounds awesome." I sign up, and he's like, "All right, see those guys right there, Pam and Jim? I need you to go sign them up." I'm like, "Okay, here we go." So I'm gonna go over there to talk to Pam and Jim. Now, first thing I think about is, okay, what's the chain of false belief that Jim already has, okay? He doesn't believe network marketing is the right vehicle to make money for some reason, right? Okay, so I think he believes it's not right. Why does he believe that? What's the experience he has? So think about that. Okay, maybe it's because Michael Scott tackled him and tried to pitch him on something, so this is the experience. Like, I had this bad experience, that's why I believe this. So now he's got a story in his head, like, what's the story he tells himself? The story he tells himself, I don't know if you have seen this episode or not. If not, it's worth Googling or getting on Hulu or whatever and watching, is that all network marketing things are pyramid schemes, right? So this is the false belief that runs Jim's life. Okay, based on this false belief, I can pitch him any opportunity on planet Earth, no matter how good, no matter how legitimate it is, and he is gonna say no matter what, because he has this false belief, because of this experience, and he's built this story in his mind, okay? So it doesn't matter how many times he clicks on my ad, how many times I pitch him, how good my presentation is, how good my, like how sexy the car is I'm driving, like no matter what I do, it's never gonna work because his false belief is so ingrained in his mind because of these life experiences that have happened, okay? The only way that I can beat him, the only way that I can, not beat him, the only way I can get him to believe something different is to tell him a better story. Okay, so we come in and we tell our Epiphany Bridge story, okay? We tell a story that rewrites his story. I was in a private mastermind group in Puerto Rico about 6 months ago, and I was sitting there with a whole bunch of just amazing marketers, and one of the guys' named is Craig Clemens, who's probably one of the greatest living copywriters on the planet Earth right now. He was talking about writing copy and the stories, and he said something fascinating to me. He said, my job as a marketer is to rewrite people's stories. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's what he's talking about here, right? So if I come here and Jim's like, I think that network marketing is a scam, the reason is because my friends knocked me over and because I believe this pyramid scheme. Well, if I come back and say, well, that's awesome. In fact, Jim, I believe the exact same thing. I used to be identical to you. Like I believe the same thing and I never believed it until one day I saw this guy on the internet and he was generating leads online. It was the most weird thing. And he wasn't calling his friends, wasn't calling his family members. He was buying Facebook and Google ads. They were coming to a form, they filled out, then he called those people. And because they asked him to call him, they actually answered the phone. And he was getting like 1 out of 3 people he called to actually sign up. It was the craziest thing in the world. And so I was like, well, if I don't have to talk to my friends and my family, I'm willing to at least try it. So I went and I tried it and went through this process, and this is a picture of me winning a Ferrari. I was #1 money earner in a company. I won a Ferrari, and I didn't actually talk to a single human being ever. I did it all through the internet. So I tell him that story, and all of a sudden Jim's like, oh my gosh, if my story trumps his, then he changes his belief pattern. That's the key. That's how this whole game is played, okay? So it's coming back and really understanding this, saying, okay, what are the reasons, sorry about that. What are the reasons why they're not gonna believe me, okay? What's the experience they went through they caused them that, and what's the story they're telling themselves, and then what story do I have that'll trump that, okay? What story do I have that'll rewrite the story inside of his head? All of a sudden, Jim's like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. If I could actually, because like I always wanted to make money in network marketing, but I didn't want to get beat up. I don't want to talk to my friends. If I could do it through this other avenue, that would change everything. Okay? That's the magic. Okay? And so the next question people always ask me is like, okay, that's cool, but what stories do I actually tell? Okay? And so there's a lot of different stories, and I'm gonna walk you guys through this because we call this the big domino. The big domino is a concept. I actually was I was at an event in New York, probably 6 or 7 years ago now, before ClickFunnels came out. And at this event, Tim Ferriss was one of the keynote speakers. And Tim got on stage and was interesting because everyone's asking questions and stuff. And then one guy raised his hand and said, I have a question. What question should we be asking you that nobody's asked you yet? And Tim kind of smiled for a second. He said, you know what? People always ask me what's my day look like? Like, can you follow me around with the camera and like see what my life is like? He's like, I've always told people no. He's like, the reason, he's like, if you saw my life, it's actually really, really boring. He said, you know, I wake up in the morning and I drink some tea and I sit on my couch and I look out the window and I think for a couple of hours and I go and I'll read a book or two and then I'll listen to the podcast and I'll walk around and go on a walk and then I'll think some more. And he's like, I might do that for a week or a month or a couple months sometimes. He's like, because I'm not doing a lot, but he's like, what I'm doing is like, most people, they spread out their day where they're like, okay, here's my to-do list. There's 1,000 things they have to go in there doing, thing after thing, and they're trying to bust out all their stuff. He said, for me, it's different. He said, I try to sit there, and I'll spend a month or 2 months or 3 months trying to figure out what is the one big domino that if I knock down that domino, either knocks down all the other dominoes or makes them irrelevant. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's powerful. Like, what is the one big domino? And I started realizing this in sales, like, there's always a big domino in every single sales presentation. Like, what's the one thing? If I get you to believe one thing, then you're gonna come and you're gonna come to me, right? You're gonna start using funnels. You're gonna start losing weight through my weight loss program. Or you're gonna whatever it is that you sell, right? There's one big domino that if you can knock that down, it makes all the other dominoes irrelevant or obsolete. Okay? And so that's the big thing. Is like we try to tell stories in a way that's gonna knock down the big domino so we can get them. Okay? Now, inside of our marketing, there's 4 core stories we tell, and we'll walk through this. So the very first story in a presentation is called the origin story, okay? So the origin story, come back here. This is typically the origin story. The origin story about why you do what you do, why you're so excited, okay? Now, if you're doing this in like a perfect webinar, like you do the perfect webinar presentation, most of you guys had a chance to go through that training, hopefully in the past. If you haven't, the perfect webinar training is a 90-minute sales presentation we do through webinars, through Facebook Lives, through on stage, things like that. This is kind of, if it's the first 15 minutes of your presentation is the origin story, okay? This isn't a 90-minute presentation. So if you're only got 10 minutes or if you've got a 15-minute presentation, it shrinks, right? But it's basically 1/6 of your presentation is your origin story, okay? So this is you telling the story about why you fell into, like why you believe what you believe. So if you see my Funnel Hacks presentation, this was my origin story, okay? The first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. My first 13 slides right there are me telling my origin story about why I'm so excited about funnels. Okay, so I tell that first origin story, and for some people, when I tell that story, they're like, oh my gosh, I need to funnel my business too, right? Some of them, like, they got the aha and they're ready to go buy. They're ready to go run and just give me money because they're sold, right? So then my origin story is the very first chance I have to push this big domino down. And again, for a percentage of your audience, you tell that one story and that will push the domino down and boom, they are in, they are ready to do whatever it is you're doing, right? They're following you on this path, they're geeking out now, they're studying, they're learning, and they will be a faithful follower for the rest of your life. Okay? Now, unfortunately, not everybody believes as easy as that, right? So what happens is if the first dominoes knock it down, if the origin story is the pot knock it down, then what happens is you use just 3 things to keep it up, okay? There's 3 dominoes that get it stuck. There's the vehicle, the internal belief, and the external belief, okay? So these are the next 3 stories. Okay, so if the domino doesn't fall, I gotta tell 3 other sub-stories. One of them is about the vehicle. So the vehicle is the thing you're trying to put them into, right? So my vehicle is funnels. I'm trying to get you guys to believe that funnels are the greatest thing. It's the best way to grow your company. Your vehicle could be something different. It's like, this is my weight loss process is the best. My process for saving relationships is the best. My process for whatever it is, the vehicle you're trying to put your potential customers in, right? That's the first false belief. Okay, the second one is the internal beliefs. Their ability to actually have success with your vehicle. Right? So somebody may say, well, Russell, this is awesome. I believe that funnels will change my life, but I just don't know if I can do it. I'm not technical. I don't know how to do things like that, right? So the internal beliefs about themselves. And then third false belief that keeps you back from success is maybe like, I believe in funnels. I believe it can work for me, but there's this external thing. I don't know how to drive traffic. Okay, let's say it's a weight loss plan. Like, I believe that keto is the best thing in the world. I believe I could actually do it, but my wife, she buys sugar and ice cream and there's gonna be in our house. I couldn't do it. There's the external thing, something else that keeps me from being successful, right? Okay, And so that's the next step here. So as I move to story number 2, this is my story about the vehicle. Okay, so I'm going to tell an Epiphany Bridge story about why I believe this vehicle is the best vehicle in the world. Okay, that's happening the second 15 minutes of my presentation, okay, or the second 1/6 of my presentation, okay? So in here, I come back here, I say, okay, what's the false belief pattern that somebody has? Okay, what's the change of false belief? Okay, why did they experience that? What's the story they're telling themselves, and what story can I use to trump it? Okay, so for me, if I'm telling you funnel is the greatest thing in the world, and you're like, I don't know if it really is, then here in my presentation, I do a presentation where I talk about the death of a website. Okay, and so here in my slides, this is where I give this part of the presentation, right? I talk about secret number 1. I go through, I tell the story about funnel hacking and Tony Robbins, and I go through this how I found a funnel that worked, and I funnel hacked it, and I modeled it, and I go through the whole thing. And these slides right here now tell my Epiphany Bridge story about the vehicle. Okay, it takes me about 15 minutes to go through that part of the story. Okay, if I do it correctly, then if my story trumps theirs, then boom, the domino falls, and they're ready to sign up. Okay, so I've had 2 chances so far to knock down this domino, and every time I do this, another percentage of people are like, boom, I'm in, boom, I'm in, boom, I'm in, okay? Then I move to story number 3, which goes back to the internal beliefs, okay? So if they're still like, okay, that's cool, Russell, I believe funnels are the greatest thing in the world, but I don't believe I can do it, then I've got to come back and say, okay, well, why, like, what are the chains of false belief about why they don't think they can do it, okay? What was the experience they probably had? So for me, it might be like, oh, that's cool, but I'm not technical, so I don't think I can do it. Okay, why did they experience that? Well, I tried to build something one time in WordPress, and it didn't work, and it was frustrating. Okay, so what's the story of telling them? I'm not a technical person, I can't build funnels. So I got a trumpet saying, okay, well, look, this is so simple. We even had Grant Cardone, the least technical person on planet Earth, to actually build an entire funnel in a plane. Let me show you how it worked, right? And then boom, I go into my story number 3. I go through all my slides where I tell the third Epiphany Bridge story. Okay, it's my third pass, and if my story trumps theirs, then boom, the domino falls, and they come in and they're ready to get signed up. Okay, and then the 4th story then is the external belief. Okay, so they believe in funnels. They believe they could actually. I watched how easy it is to click funnels. I could actually build funnels now, but I don't know how to drive traffic, so I'm out. Okay, I got one more story. Okay, my last story is my external belief story. This takes the last 15 minutes of the hour. Okay, so come here. What's the false belief? Why do they believe they can't do it? Well, they tried to drive traffic in the past and didn't work. What's the experience? The chain of false belief is like, well, I don't really believe that I don't know how to get traffic. Traffic is really hard. Okay, it's really expensive. Why did they do that? Well, I tried to buy ads on LinkedIn one time. It was like $45 a lead, so it was really expensive, so I stopped trying. Okay, so what's the story they're telling themselves? Stories like, well, traffic's expensive and hard. Okay, well, actually, let me teach this. Here's this really cool way that I get traffic and it doesn't cost me hardly anything. And then I go through that Epiphany Bridge story. I tell the whole Epiphany Bridge story about that. I show them the whole process. If my story trumps theirs, they're like, oh my gosh, I actually could drive traffic. This is amazing. I believe in funnels. I believe I can do funnels. I believe I can get traffic. Okay, and if I've done it right, then that knocks it down, all the dominoes are down, and they're just waiting to come and give me money. Okay, so that's the power. And then the last step then is to make the offer. And so here I go through, I make my offer, going through the stack slide. That's the last 30 minutes of my presentation. So in a 90-minute presentation, or if it's, again, a 30-minute presentation, it's the last 2/6 or 1/3. Is that right? Yeah, 1/3 of my presentation, okay? And I go through there, and that's kind of how that part works there. Okay, so if you've watched any of my presentations, you guys have seen this. This is the process, how it works. Origin story about the vehicle, story about the internal beliefs, story about the external beliefs, stack and the close, boom, $100 million company. Okay, like that's the whole thing. That's what we did. Okay, that's the framework and how it works. Okay, all right. I got a couple more quick things here, and then we're gonna break. Does that sound good? I know that as I tell you guys this process of like telling stories and being emotional and all these kind of things that can be kind of hard or scary. So those of you who are just getting started, I wanted to show you some videos of me when I got started. Because I guarantee you are better than I am right now. I was really, really bad. So who here wants to see the very first time I spoke? I showed this last year's Funnel Hacking Live, and I got teased a lot. So I'm a little nervous about it. I almost deleted these slides right before we got started, but here we are. So this is the very first time I spoke. This is Russell with a shaved head and his glasses and his tie on with his shirt kind of poofy because I didn't know how to tuck it in right. And you're probably looking like, you're right, Russell, this is why your wife didn't want to date you. I'm like, I know, like, good thing I made a good offer, right? Otherwise, I'd be in trouble right now. So here's a video. Anyway, I'm just going to play it without any further ado. Here we go. But what I wanted to talk about tonight is kind of a broad overview, hopefully help you to get better information out of the whole internet marketing business. This is a lot bigger group than I had planned on. Okay, so that was bad. You guys want to see the very first time I ever made an offer? This is one I heard people making t-shirts for Funnel Hacking Live with this on it. So here's me making my very first offer. You ready? Here we go. Okay, am I getting close on time?
if you do join the affiliate bootcamp, it'll give you lifelong training. It's a $47 a month value. You'll get it for free. Who would like a piece of that? Here's my irresistible offer. And hopefully you guys learned a lot from this presentation.
Give him a standing ovation. He did a great job.
And nobody stood, not even one person stood up. Who wants a piece of that? So that's the joke. So if you're at Funnel Hacking Live this year, feel free to make fun of me. Who wants a piece of that? So anyway, this is hopefully give you guys some encouragement. Like, the more you do this, the better you'll get at actually doing it. You just got to do it and start practicing, getting it out there. Okay. And I want you to understand, like, the more simple your product is, the easier you can do this, right? So if I have a really simple product, like, hey, you know, I'm on my iPhone, I can tell you one story, and you're like, sweet, I'm in. Okay. So you just have one Epiphany Bridge story, make them an offer, and that's it. Okay. If I'm trying to get you to click on an ad, my story doesn't have to be long. It's just like, let me grab a hook, tell you a quick story, go click on my ad right now, and they click on the ad. Like the story can be short and simple. Okay. If I'm selling a complex product, okay, like $1,000 sale or $5,000 sale, or whatever, that's when you go through and you got to have, story for your origin story, your vehicle, your internal belief, your external belief. So the more expensive, the more complicated your product is, the more stories you got to tell. The more simple, the less you can do. Okay, so that's kind of an important part to understand as well. Okay. So we talked earlier about you guys putting together like a product inventory. The next thing on your homework assignment is to go start putting together a story inventory. You come back here and say, okay, what are the chains of false belief my customers have? Okay, they have false belief about this and about this and about this and about this, okay? And list out at least 10 false beliefs that your customers have. Okay, that's step number one. Okay, and if you can't think of false beliefs, like I don't know my customers' false beliefs, so I got two options. Number one is think back about yourself back when you were here. Before you started this, when you were a normal person, what were the false beliefs you had or you would have had if somebody came and tried to pitch you on this? Okay, think about it. What are the false beliefs? Put those things in there. Okay, and the second thing is if you don't know, then go ask people. Go up to somebody like, hey, I think you should build a funnel. And they're like, why? Like, and you explain it and start listing, like, what are the false beliefs they keep coming back with, okay? You talk to 2 or 3 people, you're gonna find it really quick, like these are all the false beliefs people have. Okay, so figure out what are the things that are the chains of false beliefs they're holding back. Then the next line say, well, what's the experience that they probably experienced that made them have that chain of false belief? What was the actual experience? Think about that and write it down, okay? And then now I said, okay, now this is the experience they had. What's the story that they're telling themselves? Okay, the story is this. They have a story that's happening in their head, subconsciously. It's running in their head every single time that someone comes to them with an offer or an opportunity like this. They got a story. It's not going to work because of this. It's not going to work because of this. They always have the story running in their head. So your job is to figure out what that story is because you have to trump their story. You've got to tell a better story to overwrite their story. Okay, so you're listening to the story, and then what's the Epiphany Bridge? What story do you have that's better, that's going to rewrite the story in their mind so they can actually move forward with you? Okay, so for you guys, you need to start building out your inventory of stories. Okay, you should have 10, you should have 20, you should have 100. How many stories do you guys hear me tell? If you listen to my podcast, watch my Facebook Lives, this training alone, how many stories have I probably told? There's a lot, right? You gotta start building out your inventory of stories. The reason why I tell you guys stories is I know that as I'm telling you guys different pieces of this, every one of you guys have the false concerns, kind of false beliefs, like, oh, that's not gonna work because of this, or because of this, or because of this. So I'm inserting stories in my teaching to try to destroy those false beliefs so you'll be able to continue with me on this journey. Okay, because if I tell you something 15 minutes into this training and you get a false belief, you're not gonna believe anything else to say afterwards. So I tell a story to crush that so you can continue to believe and you keep coming with me on this journey, okay? All right, so that's the story part. So we talked about, we got hook, story, and offer, okay? So the last piece in this bait is the hook, okay? We talked about the offer, okay? The offer increases the value. We talked about the story increases the value of the offer. And then the hook actually does not provide any value. Okay, all the hook does is it grabs their attention just long enough that you can tell them the story and then make them the offer. Okay, so every story you create has multiple different hooks. Okay, the hooks could be, there's tons of them. It could be the picture of the thing. It could be a story. It could be a goofy picture. It could be a video. It could be an image. It could be, like, hooks are the things that's grabbing attention. Okay, so think about your dream customer sitting on their phone, scrolling through things. The hooks are what get them to stop scrolling. That's what a hook is, okay? So where do you find hooks? If you go online, every single ad you see is a hook. Okay, every one of my ads is a hook. Every ad from every advertiser you have are hooks. Start looking, you'll start seeing the hooks. Okay, they're out there. And start noticing, what are the ones that make you stop and be like, hey, what's that? Oh, what's that? Okay, I literally, every single day, I spend a few minutes a couple times a day, scrolling through Facebook and scrolling through Instagram and YouTube, and all I'm doing is I'm looking for things that grab my attention. So let's see, I stop it, I take a picture, like, that grabbed my attention. I don't know why, but let me see, what was it? Was it the headline? Was it the image? Was it the word? Was it the video? Was it something goofy they did? Was it the way they presented something? What was the hook that got me to stop in my tracks? I look at that, I start studying them, and I start getting ideas for hooks I can use in my marketing. Okay, so there's tons of them. Okay, so I recommend start going, look at the 2 Combo Club winners, people who've already been successful. Look at theirs and say, what are their hooks they're throwing out there? What are the ads they have out there? Okay, there's tons of good ones. This is Drew Manning, Fit to Fat to Fit. Okay, his hooks, if you watch his, are some of my favorite hooks. It's him on Jay Leno. He was a fit trainer who gained a whole bunch of weight and got fat, and lost a bunch of weight and got fit. So one of his hooks is him on Jay Leno. There's hooks of him before and after, before, after pictures as hooks. There's pictures of his students, there's pictures of his clients, there's pictures of steak, there's pictures of cake, there's pictures, like all these things are hooks he's throwing out there to grab people and pull them into his keto funnels. Okay, Natalie Hodson has a product called Abs Core Pelvic Floor. It helps women to be able to strengthen their, so that they don't do that. I don't even know how to explain it. Anyway, like the ad of her peeing her pants during a live video is what got people to, is a hook that grabbed people's attention and brought them into her funnels. Okay, she launched this funnel with this hook and did $1 million in the first 4 months. Okay, because that hook grabbed her dream customers who had this problem and sucked them into her funnels. And it's amazing, right? The right hook is going to grab so many people and bring into your funnels. Okay, Garrett White, this is one of his hooks. Okay, learn to unlock nearly unlimited sex, power, and money without having to cheat on your wife, get a divorce, ignore your children, leave your church, sedate with drugs, or party like a rock star in Las Vegas. Like, is that a good hook? Maybe not for you, but for his dream customer, right? Like that's an amazing hook. Here's how to have all the things you want in life without any of the things you don't want in life, right? And so it's like we're throwing out hooks and we're testing hooks all the time, hook after hook after hook after hook after hook, to see what things grab people's attention. Okay, and so the next thing is you're building out an inventory of hooks. Like, what are all the different hooks I can have? Okay, every time we create a new product, like when the here we go. This is the new Traffic Secrets book. Whoa! Well, it's an image of it. It's not an actual book, but as we've been creating this book, I've been taking pictures of myself writing the book, pictures of myself editing the book, pictures of us taking the shots for the cover, videos of that. We've got me speaking at events about this. Like there's me writing this book in my kid's car with my feet up while watching my daughter play soccer. There's me and my kids in the swimming pool writing the book. Like, I've been documenting everything in this journey because all those things will turn into ads as soon as this book goes live. Okay? Every single thing you're doing, we're creating hook after hook after hook. And so it's like, as you're creating stuff, you start documenting the process of everything you're doing, because every single thing you're doing can become a hook. So again, hook's hard to identify. It could be an image, it could be a video, it could be a headline, it could be all these things. But the biggest key is it's something that's going to grab their attention just long enough. You can tell them a story, increase the perceived value, and then make the offer. Okay? So my question for you is, how many hooks you're throwing out? My guess is you need to throw out a whole bunch more. Okay? All right, so hook, story, and offer. That is the bait section here in the secret formula. Now remember, with hook, story, offer, every single page in your funnel has hook, story, offers. Okay? On your ad, there's a hook, there's a story, there's an offer. Okay, then they click, then they come to your landing page. There's a hook, there's a story, there's an offer. Then they go to your sales page, there's a hook, there's a story, there's an offer. They go to your upsell page, there's a hook, story, and offer. Okay? It's in every single element, everything you do. Every email you send out, there's a hook, story, offer. Every podcast you publish, there's a hook, story, offer. Every video you do, everything you're doing, there's a hook, a story, and offer. Okay? And if it's not working, it's always one of those things. Either your hook was wrong, your story was wrong, or your offer is no good. Okay? So if you want to become amazing at this game, it's becoming amazing at understanding this and figure out, how do I make my hooks sexier? How do I increase my offer? How do I make my stories better? Like, the better you get those three things, the better you're going to be at everything in this entire journey. Does that make sense? This is the core fundamentals behind funnelology, behind making your funnels work, is understanding these principles. Okay, and again, if something's not working, it's always either your hook, your story, or your offer. Okay? So let's come back to the secret formula, then we're going to take a break here in about 2 minutes. So again, the secret formula comes back to number one is, who is your dream customer? Where are they congregating? Okay, and then the bait. What is the hook? The story, the offer we're throwing out into that ocean to grab their attention, tell them a story, make them an offer. And then the last step then is like the result. Where are we taking these people? Okay, after we get someone's attention, we get them to buy something, like, now what? Okay, is it a one-off transaction, we never see them again, or are you building a relationship? Are you serving them over the long term? Okay, and that really is what we're going to be talking about during the next presentation when we come back from the break, which is going to go deep into the value ladder and a whole bunch of new things that I've never talked about before there. So that's kind of the game plan. So that, you guys, was session number one of Funnelology. I hope you like it so far.